5:30. First, pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first up, we have our chamber spotlight with McLean Retirement Community. Ray, do you want to intro, or do you guys just want to
know the drill? So.
hit it? All right, great. Thanks for coming.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having us. I'm TJ Donahue and I represent McLean, and I have with me tonight to make a presentation about McLean to Paula DePinto, our Chief Financial Officer, and Carleen Ray, our Vice President of Community Life. We know what you do and we appreciate what you do. And we know that your Economic Development Commission is more important now than ever in a very competitive environment, and that you bring the best light to Simsbury to help us grow. McLean is a long institution, and Carleen Ray is going to begin telling you this story.
Good evening, everyone. Paula and I are just delighted to be here tonight and to take a little time and tell you a little bit about McLean.
Sorry.
1 second.
It's
on.
Okay, let me cut to your slide and let me share it for the Zoom participants. And I try clicking through it. Press down button.
Yep.
Okay. All you.
What you are looking at the front page is an aerial view from Hot Meadow, looking at our newest building on our campus, the Goodrich. It's an independent apartment building. And in our background, a lower building, sort of hidden by trees, is our original healthcare center. As you know, McLean was founded thanks to the legacy of Senator George McLean. We're a 501c3 not-for-profit. When Senator McLean wrote his will, it had two parts. One was, at the time, a 3,100-acre game refuge that he left, as well as money to start a healthcare, a home for aged women. Today, we're a life plan community with a full continuum of award-winning care, and we're in our 54th year this year of taking care of seniors. In 1931, that was the date Senator McLean actually signed his will, and he passed away in 1938. His wife, Juliette Goodrich McLean, did not pass until, I believe she passed away in 1958. And it was at that time that we had access to the money that he left in an endowment. That money was invested, and in 1971, our health center was open, thanks to his kindness. In 1979, we added more independent living on our campus. We added cottages. In 1998 and 2010, we added more independent living, apartments, and villas. And in 2022, we added our Goodrich apartment building. In 2024, we put pencil to paper and started planning our next development on our campus.
So there is only one McLean, but we are so many things to so many different people. Our first book of business is independent living, and this is comprised of over 120 units, apartment style and freestyle buildings. We added over 35,000 square foot of amenity space for our independent living residents. This is a choice-driven market. Independent living is a choice-driven market, and people are wanting to come to live at McLean. And not only are we full in our independent living arena, but we also have a wait list for these current units. Our next program is Boundless Wellness. This is a program that has state-of-the-art exercise equipment that was added with our Goodrich building. This program is not only available to our residents, but it's also available to the Simsbury residents and the community at large. We have a partnership with the Hot Meadow Country Club that leases its land from McLean. And this is a long-standing partnership. And our independent living residents have a social membership at the club. We are also very proud of the McLean Game Refuge. And as Carleen noted, the senator left 3,400 acres, and McLean, being committed to the mission, added another additional 1,100 acres, 1,000 of which are in the Simsbury town. There are 27 hiking trails in this area, and it is a wildlife sanctuary. And again, it's open to our Simsbury residents and our independent living residents. The final book of business is our McLean Health Center. And our health center, we are very proud of. That was the original building on our campus that spans over 110 acres. And we are proud of the fact that we are a Medicare 5-star rating community for our long-term care. Our next slide really speaks to what sort of health services does McLean offer. We offer short-term rehab inpatient. We offer home care and hospice, and our hospice is a 5-star customer service rated program. We offer outpatient and physical therapy, and also we offer driving assessments to elderly folks who aren't sure whether or not they should be driving. McLean has a unique partnership with AAA, and we're able to offer that service right on our campus. We have assisted living, memory care, and long-term care. And I'd like to mention that this array of services is not only available to our independent living residents, but also the community at large.
We like to look beyond our borders and be a resource to our entire surrounding communities. For many, many years, we've operated our Meals on Wheels program. We make up to 60 meals a day for people in Simsbury as well as other Farmington Valley towns. And those meals are delivered by a wonderful band of volunteers and are available to clients on a sliding scale basis. We offer caregiver support groups, especially around the topic of dementia care, which includes our community cafe, which is where members of the community bring their loved ones with dementia in and are able to socialize with others. We have an adult day program that operates on our campus Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. And as Paula mentioned before, our Boundless Wellness program, which is open to the greater community. We have a performing arts center in our new Goodrich building, and through grants from the Garmany Fund, we're able to host wonderful events twice a month for the greater community at no cost to come in and listen to first-rate music and other wonderful entertainment programs. The picture of the Simsbury Senior Center is there to remind us that every Wednesday we deliver hot lunches to the Simsbury Senior program and have been able to do so, thankfully, for many, many years.
So what's next and why? The slide before you shows you the orange is our healthcare center. The teal color is our Burkholder. That's our independent living apartment style. The burgundy is Goodrich. And again, that's our newest addition. That's 55 apartments. And then the yellow and the brown is our freestanding units, independent living. And again, all of these units are full. The next slide is where we'd like to go, some version of this in the future, because there is such a need for independent living. And we all know that we have an aging population nationwide. We went and we proposed 52 new houses, which consisted of 26 duplexes. Our submission was not met favorably by the Wetlands Commission. So we are pivoting and we will be reapplying with a different version of an addition for our independent living model. So what are some of the benefits to Simsbury? In addition to the over $760,000 we currently pay in property taxes, these new independent living buildings or structures will add additional revenue to the town. So we don't have an estimate right now. We can guess that that will be between 350,000 and 500,000, but that really depends on our planning in the future and what's approved. During construction, we will have construction related jobs during the development and construction of the structures. And then once we get certificate of occupancy, we will have staffing positions, permanent staffing positions. And we see that as a boost to local small businesses. We have the new residents coming in and also the staffing positions that we create. McLean is committed to growth and they are committed to being a respected employer in the town of Simsbury.
Can you say again what the grand list contribution is today? You have your first comment, 500 something. So
Over 760,000.
That's right. Taxes.
That's taxes.
Not the grants, not the grants.
Oh, not the grants.
Would you consider any of, if it does go to new development, that there could be an affordable piece to that? So people that might not be able to afford, would there be any set aside for people that for
So
that?
right now, everything is on the table. And not only do we have the new structures of our independent living, but we also have a renovation that's going to be happening in our health care center. So we are considering all aspects.
Thank you.
I just wanted to show you quickly a map of our game refuge. All of the green area is the land we own, 1,000 acres in Simsbury, a little bit in the bottom left in Canton, and the majority of the land is in Brantley. TJ.
Thank you very much. A couple of quick notes. The plan that's before that was unsuccessful is being prepared as we speak to be resubmitted very soon. The plan is a necessary element of our growth and our development and to keep us a healthy business and a healthy section of the community. Also, we just have a couple slides in there to show you that what we're trying to do there is totally consistent with the Simsbury Plan of Conservation Development, which will be done in 2024, and which is a great guide of data on the town, and also tells us certain things like on the left-hand side of this slide, it tells you what our population growth is up to 24,517 at this point. It's still growing, and it talks a little bit on the right-hand side as to the nature and makeup of the demographics of the Simsbury population. Sorry, how many?
Put down here.
We've done.
There you go.
These are a slide of two maps in the plan of conservation development. And this shows you here. In the plan of conservation development, McLean is known as an institution. Those light blue areas are all institutions in Simsbury, which include the Master School, Westminster School, Ethel Walker School, several of the churches, and our facility, which is 100 acres. And that's the area which was shown on the map that Our Lady showed you of the existing campus, and including the bottom half of it, which we're going to try to develop into, as we tried 52 units, which would be 26 structures. The red line around is interesting for you all because, and you know that because that's a central policy area. And the central policy area means that that's the area in Simsbury which has sewer and water and arterial streets, which are capable of having some kind of in-scale development. As you can see, we're squarely within that, and our institutional space has been defined like that for more than 30 years. These maps are good to look at, and they're in there for your review. On the this is a slide that takes a page, a quarter of a page out of the plan of conservation development. And it tells you that the principles are redevelop and revitalize regional centers and areas of mixed land uses with existing or planned and physical infrastructure. We are all four squares within that principle for our plan of conservation development. Principle 2 is to expand housing opportunities and design choices to accommodate a variety of household types and needs. And clearly, that's one of the needs is elderly housing, which is virtually full everywhere and full in the greater Parkland community. We're very pleased that you called us in. We know what you do, but we don't feel that enough people know exactly what we do. And I think that our presentation today with pretty good clarity told you what the vital services we provide to the community. One thing we'd like to tell you and any group in town is anytime you would like to know more about us or visit our facility, we would love to arrange to have that done. And if you just call individually or through your staff, just indicate that you'd like to come either singly or in a group, and we would love to tour you to our facility. And we're very pleased that you invited us. We're very pleased to present to you, and we'll answer any questions that you have.
You mentioned it's under being resubmitted right now. How far along is that resubmission plan?
It's not resubmitted yet. We expect to resubmit within 6 weeks in that type of a time frame.
And are you at liberty to speak to any of that as far as, is not wetlands approved? So what are the major revisions that you would say are going to be in the resubmission?
Well, what I'd like to tell you is that the commission, they made certain findings. They made findings that the intervenor petition failed because they didn't substantiate the burden. And they turned us down and they gave us 5 significant reasons of things that they'd like to see in the new plan. And that's what our focus is really. We're making significant revisions.
Any other questions? Well,
I
great.
just want to thank you for
Yeah,
coming.
thank you. Appreciate it. That was great.
And thanks for the tour over there. It's really. Glad and thank you for everything you're doing for the town.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Can the public make comment or ask questions?
It's up to you, Chair.
Sure.
I mean, unless it gets long-winded or too disagreeable, I
Yeah.
think civil and appropriate.
Hear me? My name is Christy Bunn, I live in Plum Hollow, and I'm part of that intervenor group that TJ talked about. There was a rather contentious application that went through, and a group of neighborhoods got together. It was Hop House Lane, Teacher's Turn, Shady Hill, Country Club, to name some of them. And we're very concerned about this development. What we care a lot about Queens, but there are neighbors and we care a lot what they're gonna put up in our backyards. In my case, it's my front yard. Most of us are on wells, most of us are on sewage. We care greatly as to how the land will be affected. And we hired out of our own pocket a lot of experts to show that the plan that McLean's put forth under SLR wouldn't work on that wetlands, and we think we did a really good job. In addition, McLean's application was incomplete in that they didn't do a wildlife survey and they didn't add certain details that were necessary, which make a really big difference. Simsbury has always been committed to how it builds and how it develops. And we as a neighborhood group, a wide neighborhood group now, we care about development in general in town. And many of us are not happy with the way things are going, fast development. And for our future, we also have invested. I appreciate that they have put forth, $760,000 in taxes, but we're all taxpayers too. And it just, we really care about how they're going to develop and the impact. And we would love as a neighborhood group for them to include us in the conversation, to be good neighbors and talk to us about it, because what they proposed before was to build a high density neighborhood on wetlands in an area that's not zoned for that. And again, we're concerned about things like flooding. We are and all around them, we are the barrier between them and the wetlands, the river, the Farmington River. And if something goes wrong, we already have flooding problems, you know, like that one, Washburn Lane, the bridge is out. We have some natural, obstacles that just, you know, that God gave us really. And we have to work around it. And so just because we need certain kind of housing that's part of our plan, it has to be done in the right way, in the right place. And we're also concerned about, like, there's been a lot of development on Hot Meadow Street, and there's that, I don't know what it's called now, but Anthology. We've heard that they're looking to expand as well. Are they full question mark? We don't know, but we as taxpayers care. It's not just about, we care about what they're doing. And this is a residential area. It opens up to Great Pond Road, which is a 2-lane road with no shoulders. There has been accident where people have been killed on that. People go on Great Pond Road to get to Henry James and also the high school. People walk their dogs. They run, they do different things. So that's where our concern is from. And we have, you know, and also for the land itself, we all invested here. We, you know, put our dollars down, and our neighborhoods also were put up in 1971, just like that main health center. So we're all in this together, but we want to be seen as, you know, we want to be considered as the town goes forward with development. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So much. Thanks, everyone.
And Vice Chair Arthur, just point of order, since we have a new member, I don't know if you all just did introductions when I was out of the room. Would you all?
We actually didn't,
Oh.
but that would probably be appropriate. Gary, you can.
You just made him fit.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
for coming. Yes, that's it for today. Thank you for coming.
Gary?
Gary, please introduce yourself.
So yeah, my name is Gary Schless. I am new to the committee. I've lived in town for 26 years, 25 years. My wife grew up here, which is how I ended up here. Had 2 kids who went through the Simsbury school systems. I am now in commercial real estate. Do leasing, sales of office space, retail space, industrial space, land, etc. So I thought this would be a good fit when my father-in-law mentioned it to me. And that's how I got here.
Great, welcome.
I'm Erin Levitt Smith. I'm not a full member, but I'm chair of the planning commission, so I'm on the committee. Nice to meet you.
You too.
I'm a member of the Economic Development, Tom Rowe.
Matt Arthur, Vice Chair.
Town EDC member.
I'm Mark Nelson, town manager. Thanks for volunteering. Appreciate that.
Charmaine, Mike, you want to introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Charmaine Seavey. I'm the chair of the Economic Development Commission. I am away right now, so I'm on Zoom.
And I'm Mike Scurso, been on the commission for about a year now, so welcome.
Thank you.
Can I just, because I think for future commit, may I? This was a presentation, not a public hearing. I appreciate the comments, but I'm not sure that this was no, I know
Yeah.
it's not I'm just putting that, listen,
Yeah,
I would if
fair
if I were in your spot, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I think in the future, we might just wanna, they came at our request to do a presentation, and then she should be saying those things most definitely, but at a public hearing, in front of another board, that this was a presentation. And
Yeah.
I mean, you can't cut her off, but I just want to say that because I just didn't think it was appropriate, but at the, anyway,
Yeah.
so for future, I'm just saying,
First time that's happened to us.
right, exactly. No. And I would have done the same thing
Yeah.
when she got up there. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, no. And so
Yeah.
I'm saying for next time, if something, I just, I've had to say that in front of planning. This is
Yeah.
not a, public hearing, but, you can come back or whatever. And so I
Yeah.
think,
we'll be
I'm
prepared.
just saying for future.
Yeah.
And if people disagree with me, that's fine. Oh.
Yeah, well,
Oh,
yeah.
are you?
I don't know.
I know what the protocol is. I mean.
It's not, I mean, she was litigate, do you know what I mean? And this wasn't, it's not gonna, she needs to go in front of
Yeah.
people that, anyway, I just didn't think it was.
Is there
Aaron
something
is
wrong?
chair.
Is there something, oh, I just say, is there something wrong with, someone coming to our meetings and commenting on what's going on at the meeting?
You have public audience in this meeting?
We don't officially, the board doesn't have an official public comment, but again, as Matt said, you know, that
It hasn't
happened before.
Look at us now,
You
huh?
know, and I always err on the side, and I think you got two chairs here. You know, somebody throws it at us, wants to comment, you know. And it's been run as kind of a new formal and
Yeah.
there were a lot of conversations and. You know, so I don't disagree with Erin on this. I think.
I just think her
I
comments
wasn't
was
prepared
litigate.
for it either, Matt. You know,
That,
looked
that's
at
it,
me
in
and I,
hindsight.
you know, don't look at me, you're the chairman.
I know, that's.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate that.
Like, yeah, sure, you know, I was like, but I just say in hindsight, maybe the better way to say it is,
Maybe
it's We better need she to got
it out here than somewhere else or some other
well, but she's gonna say it in other forms. Maybe it just gives us pause.
Well, what it
As
does
to
do,
what
I tell you what it does.
Because
do.
it's a controversial issue,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
The expansion.
It
And-
shows the juxtaposition that the town faces.
Yes.
All our boards are.
Yeah.
And everybody in town government's aware of this. You are planning. You know, whether it's open space, but where does development lead? Wetlands and, you know, all of these things. And the town is like others wrestling with that. And
Yeah.
We need groundless growth. You know,
Yeah.
they are a good partner. There's no
Yeah.
question about that.
Yeah.
They've done so much. They are, I say they're one of our stakeholder, you know,
Sure.
institutions.
Mhm.
So, you know, I thought it was a good presentation and, it was good to hear. Glad they stopped by.
I'd love to see an affordable component though.
Yeah, yeah. We'll talk.
All right,
Just saying.
yeah,
You gotta incent that somehow, Aaron.
Yeah, but I mean, if
People aren't
yes,
gonna
it's
build
great
it
you're
for nothing.
building it, but a certain percentage of the population is gonna be able to afford to live there. And if we're trying to keep people in Simsbury, then you need to be able to offer an array that
Yeah.
maybe slightly lower income people could, I'm just saying, it's just,
sounds like they'd be filled already, but
yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of the impression I got from them, but.
Yeah, I always wonder whether places like this can even legally offer, you know, Simsbury residents first priority and, you know, space is tight.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure, I've never gotten an answer, you know, if that's a legal question, right? I mean, I don't know how you do that.
I don't know if you can in certain, like certainly in nursing homes, if you have a wait list, you have to, you can't.
Just say for the town.
Yeah.
No, the wait list by law, by statute is whoever comes in first, right? And I believe that is also for assisted livings. I could be wrong, but certainly for nursing home level of care. So you have to be careful because now you have the ombudsman, the state's ombudsman who's probably well aware of in the assisted living. And so you might get into some sticky
Yeah.
wickets that way.
Mm.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yours, Matt.
All right, next, we're gonna continue our economic development discussion. Today, we have Planning Commission Chair Aaron Levitt Smith and Board of Finance Chair Lisa Havner, and we are outlining a couple specific questions. One, what does economic development mean to you within the context of growth for the town? And two, can you please share your thoughts on what actions the town might take to better support its existing small business and or attract new ones? So the order was Aaron and then Lisa, but you guys can flop if you.
You can,
if
if you want to,
choose.
because,
Yeah.
okay. So I struggled. I don't have, I wasn't able to talk to the planning commission. We only had one meeting and I unfortunately missed my first meeting in years. I wasn't there. But I took a look again, I always reread the POCD. And the overarching goals we have, I mean, obviously, when we're talking about the plan of conservation and development, we're looking at both. How do we conserve and how do we develop? And like Mark said, how do we do that? How do we grow the grand list? How do you know, keep the kind of rural character, right? But get the business in and how do you support local businesses? So I know there's a lot laid out. You know, I think our vision is pretty clear in this POCD. And certainly improves upon the previous one that we did. But the overall, we said to guide future growth or change in Simsbury in ways that promote places with a sense of place, strengthen Simsbury Center and other village centers and unique places, and maintain and enhance the ambiance of the community. So it's guiding the development that reflects, taking in account the historical nature of the town, and the historical development patterns, and that all the kind of future development, is compatible with the area. And so, those are, those were our thoughts on the planning commission, and what kind of guided this whole promote us, the whole chapter in here on development. I don't know, I mean, do you want specifics? I know, like we talked about one of the things is really taking a look at EDC, the Chamber, Main Street Partnership. Do we, does it make sense to have three entities? Should we looking to consolidate? And, would that strengthen that kind of commitment, that what we're doing? I get the sense that that's a sticky issue, but it's something that we thought was important to look at, moving forward, because I think my opinion is that it would help if everyone was working on the same goal at the same time. And, I get the sense that, there might be pockets and silos. And so we were just, part of the P O C D is looking at that. So that would be, one thing to, in the second part of that. I know we were also talking about in here, but also is how do we repurpose buildings that we have? And we've been talking about that here, that, we don't, especially for affordable housing, let's take that. Are there buildings, are there existing things that we could do that, then brings in, tax revenue potentially. And so, we don't always necessarily, it doesn't always have to be built. And can we repurpose it? What can we do? Open space, when we look at this, is huge in this town. I mean, people really want to maintain and preserve, is a lot of people. But that was one of our number one issues when we did all those community events that we did. So yes, people want development, but they also want to keep that rural charm. And, so how do you do both?
Yeah.
It's tough. So that's why we're like, you don't necessarily have to build. What if we repurposed? So, but we're always looking at, if there is growth, how is that going to affect infrastructure in town? How is that going to affect our schools? How is it going to, that kind of thing? What's the net gain? Are we looking at, do you know what I mean? Like if we can build things and there's a net tax gain as opposed to a negative tax gain, those are the kinds of things that we're starting, or we certainly have started to look at more and more and asking people to provide. So, so I don't know if that answers those questions really well, but I don't want to talk too long. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I just ask one question. It seems to me that this conflict between development and preserving open space to town culture, one way to get around that, and what we're looking at, I guess, is sort of, you have empty buildings.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be expanding into an open space.
That's right.
So trying to focus on those empty office spaces and repurpose them, somehow get builders interested in doing that. It's the tough part, I guess.
Right.
But I think that gets around the idea you have to expand into open spaces or that conflict we hear every time we talk about this.
Yeah. We just approved a subdivision. If you're going past Simsbury Farms, is it Holcomb? Yeah, Holcomb. That it's almost 10 acres.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, and you can see that, yeah. And when it came to us, the thing, people came and they were talking about dead horses buried on the lot, and all that, and which is probably true. It was, but what they didn't realize, it was already a subdivision. So this was a re-subdivision, right? And so we're like, we can't really say no, but you're in a subdivision. This was all, and so, that's one of those places where when they came to us, we said, are you going to leave the trees back there? What are you going to, and I think they're protecting 2.5 or 3 acres in the back. It's not all, the houses are gonna be closer to Holcomb. So anyway, but there's things that we say, you're like, you don't have to clear cut everything, and can you keep the trees between you and the neighbors in the back, you know, and, but it's difficult, but I mean, we approved it, and sometimes it's difficult because of the way statutes and laws are written, or, you know, our regulations. We couldn't, I don't think we wanted to say no, but we couldn't have really said no.
Right.
So, but that, you know, that's it, 4 houses and, you know.
No comment, no comments, no.
No. Yeah.
That's fine.
You're kidding.
No, it's totally kidding.
That was good.
I think Erin hit on 3 great points there. I think we all feel the same way about pretty much everything she said. One thing I want to just bring to this group, because we recommended it come to you, is one of the people that we interviewed for EDC, that we did not put on the committee. We did ask that he come present to you guys because he talked about infill development, because we have all the spaces on downtown.
Yeah.
That instead of building or displacing, we could find homes for with mixed use. We talked about that where the burnout was. Those are things that should be easy for us to do if we have the right triad working on it.
That's right.
So I just wanted to make that point, because that seems like just a win-win for everybody in
Right.
town.
Yeah. Get away from that.
Do we have a sense of the capacity of the schools? I mean, are they full? Are they?
I don't think they are full,
They-
right?
I would just say that they do projections every year on a capacity. So yeah, Lisa will probably talk about that, but that's part of any development. We need to look at the school capacity.
Right.
Thank you very much, Aaron.
Yeah, thank Aaron. For having her, please. Yes.
Please. Just be careful here. I wasn't preparing everybody.
Wendy, I was just kidding, by the way. She laughed.
It's funny. And you were so, no.
Practicing.
So
same
Matt,
time.
that's what we're gonna do
Yeah.
for anybody that wants to tell Wendy or us.
Yeah, got it.
Or Lisa.
Or Lisa.
Thanks for having me and thank you for all you do. I do actually talk regularly with Matt and Charmaine, and I keep up with your meetings and your minutes, and I just want to thank you for all you're doing. I think you're doing the exact right thing. You're bringing people in, you're getting input. Goldman, and your presentation was really informative. So thank you for that. I think that's a great service to the town, and part of that, your job, obviously, you're all volunteers, but your job is to communicate what's happening in town and getting a sense of what the community wants. And so I think you are doing that really, really well. And I want to thank you and commend you for that. Obviously, I'm chair of the Board of Finance and I lose sleep at night every budget season. So I'll start with the mill rate, because that's generally what we focus on. The Board of Finance has for 25 years done comparisons with peer towns of Glastonbury, Avon, and Farmington. Our mill rate is on a $400,000 home. If you live in Simsbury, you're going to pay $1,000 more a year than a resident in Avon, and more than $2,000 a year than a resident in Farmington, about $500 more than a resident in Glastonbury. So the other thing I always say, having been a liaison to this committee at one point and served in various roles throughout the community and door knocked on literally thousands of doors, is that Simsbury residents are willing to pay a lovely tax. And the lovely tax is I'll pay a little bit more to live here because it's a beautiful town, great schools. I'm willing to pay a little more for all that we get. But at some point that gap becomes too big and people say, whoa. One of the things we noticed post revaluation, when there was a shift of the burden of the taxes onto residential property, is we were having approval ratings prior to revaluation of our budgets at 80%. We're now at 65%. So we're seeing a shift that we're starting to hit that. You always wonder, when do you hit that point? And we're closer to it than we were. I'm not sure it's devastating, but for the first time, we're seeing our neighbors' budgets not passing and not passing multiple times. So we're very keenly aware of that. But I go back to this lovely tax. If we do economic development and we ruin all that's lovely, people aren't going to be willing to pay the premium. So I always I've told your planner, just don't make it like Rockford Pike. Anyone who grew up in Maryland, knows what I'm talking about. REM, don't go back to Rockville. Don't do that. So part of economic development, I see it, is, I think Aaron spoke eloquently as to infill and all that, and that is happening across the nation right now, especially with the vacancy rate in commercial, which Reuters just put out an article on a couple of weeks ago saying nationwide it's at 20%, the highest it's ever been. Obviously, you've had presentations from Main Street, closer to 25 to 30 in town, not atypical. Hartford put out an article a few weeks ago, 40% in Hartford. So we're seeing this across the nation. But another part of economic development, and an important part, is what you say no to. You don't want to bring in a business. There's some businesses, and there was one, I'm sorry, Sarah isn't here. We fought multiple times. One business kept wanting to come in, and I think my most successful role economic development was keeping them in.
Oh, the dollar
Because,
store.
because when those come in, it lowers, well,
Dollar
let's,
Sorry.
I just don't
Oh.
know. But when certain businesses come in, they can actually lower the values of properties around them. So you want to be sensitive to that. So saying no is also important. A couple of sort of comical ones that came in, a nude bar wanted to come in and no. So there were strange things that would come in. So part of your job is to say, no, that doesn't fit within the thing, because we don't want to ruin the lovely tax. So and then the other thing I always talked with Chris Kelly was, we want it all, but we don't want to pay for it. So how do you balance that? Combination. We do have aging infrastructure in town. Some of our schools are going to need some upgrades. You had talked about capacity. And one of the things, Mark, has this group gotten a copy of George's rainbow piece of paper?
They got the one before, they haven't got this one yet, so we're gonna share that soon. It's just updating now, so probably next month.
Okay, so I think I sent it to Charmaine, and Matt sent it to you, a copy of fiscal impact of economic development, so you can sort of see where that is in terms of capacity. Did you ask the capacity question? So interestingly, enrollment has been fairly steady. We're projecting about a 2.7% increase in enrollment. The schools was as of last November, the next 5 years. So that means there is technically capacity, and sort of what's going on there. We're doing all this building. Why aren't there more kids? Well, not just in Simsbury, across the nation, less people are living in homes than they were before. We're seeing more single family owners, even one parent owners. So there are just less children. So even though there's more houses, it's not necessarily increasing. And then the other thing about enrollment, whether if you add a new child, what is the cost? How do you estimate the cost? And that is very dependent on capacity. If you have capacity in a school system, adding one child, there's almost no cost, right? You pay maybe a book, maybe a laptop, but you don't have to hire a new teacher. The building's there, lights still being paid, so there's nothing. So when there is capacity and you add a new child, it actually lowers the per pupil cost. And it will do that until you run out of capacity. So it's very low, low, low. And then, oops, I need to hire a new teacher. Yeah. Oops, I need to hire 3 new teachers. Oops, I need a new school. Then it can accelerate. So at this point, we do have capacity, and the projections are in line with, in my mind, something we can accommodate. We have had more children enrolled in the past. When that has happened, we've done, I don't know, what modules. There are ways to accommodate sort of, you don't want to build for a blip, right? Yeah. If there's going to be a temporary blip, you do a temporary structure and then normalize. You build if you think there's going to be sustained. Now, we do need to renovate because some of the buildings have problems. And the question is, how do we fund that when there are other needs there? And that goes into economic development. Economic development is a driver, but some of the development comes in, you look at it, the amount that we need, and what we get from any one development, it's not going to move the needle. So make sure it's a good development. So really pay attention to quality, I would say, is the thing. I think infill you want to do. In terms of our housing, we just got from the assessor, and this will come out in our, when I got my act together, probably in October or November, when we do our fiscal state of the town pre-budget. But interestingly, we have almost 1,500 homes valued below 300,000. So when you think about affordability, one thing you can think about is, well, how do we keep those houses? First thing at Pine Glen, I had a resident tell me, oh my gosh, it's so frustrating. These businesses are coming in and buying them and then renting them out. It's happening across the nation. Should you think about laws to limit predatory home ownership that makes it hard for these affordable homes that we have that we want to promote are being swooped up and being rented? So that might be something you want to look at. I talked with Mark. You're already doing a great job with businesses reaching out, but in the past, we have done many years ago, a business survey, and you use a real, not Survey Monkey, but you actually hire a company that targets and does that. And with community, you can get a real sense of what does the community want, not just those who respond to the survey, but if you use a company has a statistically valid methodology, you can get really good information. Mark, I don't know if you could share the one many years ago that we did.
Was that Blue?
Yeah.
I forget the name of the company.
I want to call it Blue Sky.
I want to say, but we can't say
Yeah.
that.
It's Blue something.
Yeah, and
Yes.
so briefly, and there's a number of these consulting firms, so I don't want to pick on that one, but, and Matt had sent an email around, I think some of us here got that about a similar suggestion, but the idea, I think, is a good one, that at least every, 5 or 6 years or whatever, you spend a little money and you outsource this and you get the experts to come in and you can drive, we could, with our partners, craft some questions and you get a lot of public engagement around this. So Blue Note, we'll call them.
Blue something.
Great Blue.
Yes, that's it.
I think
That's
you were first selectman at that time.
Yes.
And so yours was the last one and they did a fantastic job. And that's been how many years ago?
It's been
And
probably 8
then,
years.
Main Street and other partners did the charrettes, looking at our downtown and, the POCD has been, and by all accounts, as Aaron said, it's one of the best POCDs around. I mean,
It's award winning.
it is, it deservedly so, really, really strong.
Of course, I couldn't go.
So, but yeah, we do have capacity in the schools, as Lisa said, and that's good. We've got capacity with our sewer as well, which we talked about infrastructure. So I think it's good. The capacity is there. Smart growth is what we want. And, so
Yeah,
you get the right people in the room.
one of the things that I think we're the type of community, we're not gonna get Amazon. I don't think we want Amazon, right? But the EPA, and I shared this with both Matt and Charmaine, actually puts out this great, crazy guide on economic development for towns our size. And they really emphasize an important part of economic development is investing in your assets. So your street lights, your sidewalks, the flower bridge, the pickleball court, do not break the parks. All this stuff is also an important part of economic development because that goes to the value you get. So when I think of economic development, it's not just show me the money, although come budget time, Mark, show me the money. But it's not that. It's really about the value you get, and are you willing to pay for that value? And do you feel you're getting something out of it? And so preserving excellence, I guess, is an important part of economic development. Never sacrifice excellence and beauty for economic development, because then you lower the brand. And with that comes to lower the mill rate. Now, that said, that's also balanced with the mill rate, and the gap is getting too big. Yeah, for many years, we worked to get it down. It's too big, and we just have to get that down. And that is going to take some combination working with our employees. It's going to finding efficiencies in management, and it's going to involve hard choices. But if we don't do that, we know from research that when the mill rate gap gets too big, what happens to businesses? Are they going to go here? Or are they going to go to Avon, $1,000 more? They're going to go to Farmington, $1,000 more. So at some points you enter a death spiral, and we don't want to get to that point. So we're monitoring all those things at the same time. I guess I would say to you, a really important thing is to get the community monthly economic development updates, and it needs to be published. And the reason why that is so important is people want to join a winning team. When they see economic development and it's written, it happens. One of the reasons Big Y came in is we used to publish bi-weekly economic development update, what's coming in, new businesses, new apartments, what status they were in the planning section. They read this and they're like, oh, we didn't know these apartments were coming. We're in. And this was just from seeing a regularly published piece of work. Our realtors used to view that
Who
was
used to do that? So that we'd have to figure out who would be responsible.
So
to do
it
something
would be
like
the
that.
first, I mean, in the charter, it's assigned to the town manager, it'd be the town manager's office, if that's something you guys want to get back to. I see a value in it. When I met with the real estate agents, they said they would show this to everyone.
Yeah.
It was a marketing piece. The other thing you could think about in terms of things to do, the last marketing study we had, gosh, I think it was 2014. Maybe it's time to do another marketing study. That was really helpful, and that became the basis of sort of the businesses we targeted and how we tried to maintain. And especially now post-pandemic, some of those, it may be different than what it was. We might want to take another look, but obviously with the office vacancy thing, that's both something to worry about, not just because of the grand list, but because if we don't fix this, come next revaluation, what's going to happen is more of the burden is going to be shifted to the property tax owners. And that is going to lead to more property taxes, and that's going to be a harder burden on folks. Right now, Simsbury is a very wealthy community. And we can be proud of that, but we have 20%, 1 out of 5. So that's 2 people in this room cannot afford to live in Simsbury. They're working and they are not making enough money. And so that is the hard strings. We have a wide range of people who make money. One of the things I did want to bring your attention to is last night at the Board of Finance, we got our AAA bond rating. So it goes to the brand, right? That's something we can all be proud of. And that was based on our governance, our financial policies, how we monitor the budget implementation, stuff like that. But in doing this, they have to file a report with Emma. It's called an Emma report with the SEC. And in that report, it's about 40 pages, and they give every statistic this board would ever need on the state of the town in Simsbury. So it's online, it's in our agenda. I just cannot I mean, you look at it, the first few pages, you're gonna be like, oh, Lisa, the front page, you go, oh, this is finance stuff, I don't want to look. They're all beautiful charts. And the charts look like they're very easy to read. Like, here's one. There's nothing intimidating about them. And you can get so much. It lists the industry classification. Where do our businesses work? It lists major taxpayers. By the way, McLean is one of our major taxpayers. In terms of major grand list, what we're monitoring, when we look at our grand list compared with our peers, again, the 4 peer towns, we have low commercial development compared to our peers, but very high apartments, 7%. That compares with 2 or 3% in Farmington and Glastonbury, and 0% in Avon. Now, I will say, one of the things that drives our board crazy,
They have apartments in there.
one of the things that drives our boards crazy is the data is very unreliable. And some towns will report apartments as residential, when apartments in most towns are reported as commercial or separate. So I can't say for certain, but the percentage of apartments in Avon is much less than in Simsbury. So while there is a push to get affordable housing, and doesn't have to all be in Simsbury, and I would strongly encourage this board to reach out to other economic development commissions, and obviously management and the first select, and to reach it, because this needs to be a regional approach. Which gets me to my next point. If it's not a regional approach, we start going with incentives. We offer an incentive. Hey, we got someone. What do you think Avon does next? What do you think Farmington does next? What does Canton do next? You got to race to the bottom. So my caution, I sent this, Rob Pomeroy and I sent this forward. I don't know if there's anyone who was even actually on it at the time. I think you might have been. In 2019, a letter on abatements, with a cautionary tale there. To please consider not offering an abatement to a business that's already coming. If a business is already coming, what are you incentivizing them to do? And if the business was already coming and you're saying, here's a gift, you are now decreasing the grant list, not increasing. If they were going to come anyway, that's not an appropriate time for an abatement. An abatement is appropriate when you need to get a business to do something that they wouldn't otherwise do. An example of that was the Metro East building. The original proposal there was to tear it down and put in a CVS. So that was one where economic development worked, and we said, strong economic development here is no, you will not do that. And then became a series of, it was going to be a multi-use apartment. And that was, when we worked with a developer who was thinking about that. And when we really probed them on the finances, it didn't make sense to do that. And finally, the Scullies came in and said, well, we want to do this and we want to preserve this gateway building, public good, that is iconic to the town, but it is so expensive. I can't do it on my own without an abatement. Can you help us with the abatement to help preserve a public good that is visible to the public and that the public will benefit from? And the answer was yes, we can do that. Now, the problem with that, I believe it was passed and they abated the current taxes. You always want to abate the additive taxes and leave the current taxes. If you abate the current taxes, you now decrease the grant list. You can help them on the increase. So those are the two sort of cautionary things, I guess I would say to you as you consider incentives. Anything that increases the brand. Sometimes a town will need help. I was talking with Mary Glassman. If it's infrastructure, if we can help with infrastructure that the public will use, that's outward facing, that will make the town beautiful, that is something to incentivize. If they're just going to do something yuck, you can incentivize them to do something beautiful and maintain the brand. So those are I guess the main things. I don't know. Matt, you're gonna have to shut me off because I don't know.
No, it's
But
good stuff.
But those are
Yeah.
the main things. But really do take a look at that data because it is really just fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
Mark will get you the fiscal impact analysis. To the extent you haven't seen that, what we asked Mark and the planner to do was to say, look, all this stuff is coming. What is that going to mean to the grant list? What does it really mean? And what is the impact? And then we also said to them, and what is that going to mean for enrollment?
Right.
Right. And what are the enrollment numbers going to be? And one thing that was interesting, and you'll see this once you get it, Rutgers actually did the premier study on how you calculate that. And it still holds. I was looking at 2006. Mark thankfully told me that it's been updated in 2016, but actually there wasn't much of a change. So if you have a 1-bedroom apartment, how many students do you get? 0.11 maybe. Not many, right? If you have a studio. And as you increase bedrooms, you're more likely to have student enrollment. That taken in the grants sort of trend, we're seeing generally less children. So that's been adjusted. But you can calculate pretty accurately as to what the enrollment is going to be. And when you look at this number, what you get from Mark, you'll see that the enrollment impacts from proposed development are not that much. They're about 110 from this huge amount of development. Now, whether those hold or not, we're going to need to monitor, but based on past development, it's comparable. And so again, it goes back to, well, what does that mean? 20,000 to educate a child in Simsbury. Does that mean 20,000 times 110? No, because it goes back to capacity. Sometimes you can add a child for $2. Right. So it's when you hit the capacity level. So it's hard to say what the actual cost is, but you can't assume that it's dollar for dollar. So we'll look at that. I know our board, is open to hearing what you guys have to propose. We are very data driven when you come to us. We just want to know, okay, what is your plan? Doing fiscal impact analysis. I was telling Mark, there are actually programs out there. You can do them in town. When Rob and I proposed it in 2019, they cost about 10,000 to 20,000. I don't know what they are now. They've probably come down because things are more automated now, but that might be something you want to look at, the marketing study. Just, I would say, giving you tips to come before a board, data driven, very detailed. and measurables. What are we gonna see for it? And that's what we're looking for when we think about how to use the very limited resources of the town. At this point, we're entering, I think it's going to be our hardest budget. See, I say that every year, and it's getting progressively harder. But this is a year where we're gonna see that. We just saw that the Fed reduced its interest rates. Well, we've been getting a lot of our non-tax revenue from interest investment of cash. That's now gonna come down. We're starting to see the impacts of tariffs. CPI just went up to 2.9 above expectations, right? So that's going to trickle down into material costs. So that's going to again hit the towns. The state has been chronically underfunding education costs, and those get transferred to the town because those are mandated costs. So the state can't get their act together there. And they're losing a lot of money from the federal government in Medicare and the Medicaid areas. So that's going to then have to be taken care of first. And so that's going to come from somewhere. So that's going to come from the municipality. So we're watching all these factors sort of ravel, and our grand list projections are next year will be stronger than they've been in the last 3 years, but not enough to cover anticipated costs. So there will be a tax increase next year. We are going to try and limit it as best we can. I don't think there's any appetite on our board for doing a tax increase above the cost of living COLA that our seniors get. I think that will be a hard no for our board, but we haven't discussed it publicly, but I mean, we haven't made a decision on that, but based on public comments of our board members, it will be very hard to move our board beyond that because we're starting to see the affordability and pressures on businesses and residents. We've had tax increases of over 5% in the revalue, 4.6, and we got this last year to 2.5, but cumulatively on a median valued home, which is about 400,000 in Simsbury, that's over $1,000 in 3 years. You're paying more in taxes. And with the gap in mill rates with our comparison towns, at some point, that lovely tax people are going to stop saying, I want to pay it. They already stopped in Avon. They said no. They said no a second time. And they said no a third time. And then their council said, okay, we'll raise your taxes. And they did. After the third no, they raised the budget.
Well,
Yeah, it was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. It'll be interesting. Because part of that, when you do that, we can say no to taxes, but that saying no to taxes means reduction in services or reduction in staff. So they're tough choices. But that's why what you're doing is so important, reaching out and saying, you know, how impactful are the taxes? Are you willing to still pay the lovely tax? How much of the lovely tax are you willing to pay? When do we need to stop and what can we do to help you? I think your business visitations have been very good, and I'd encourage you to keep that up. I think it's really important to keep what we have and support what we have.
Mark, is that something the town would consider doing, what Lisa mentioned about the posting monthly economic development?
Not right now, but maybe next year.
Okay.
All right, we have our own capacity problem with what's coming, and as Lisa said, you know, and I'll just emphasize it, the budget work that the town is doing every year, as the budget challenges get harder, so does the work that goes into it. So the planning and the electeds, the staff, everybody, it's taking longer to get these budgets right. So what we're doing is we're starting earlier on capital. Last year at the chair's request, we gave the operating budget a couple of weeks early. We're going to do that again this year, and probably that'll be a permanent change, I would imagine. On the capital side, we just, with Ford's support, we just invested in a new software called ClearGov, which allows us to automate some of this, which is taking some of the pressure down. But, you know, the problem is that, you know, in addition to all the grand list problems, and the reval is looming in a couple of years, right? The biggest problem, I talked about it last month, was the shift from commercial to residential that's coming. I mean, all you got to do is drive around downtown Boston and you see, you know, the valuation of some of these skyscrapers being pushed to the residential properties around there. It's coming. But that's a real problem. But the other thing that we're facing is that, you know, contrary to what, you know, the inflation numbers say, I'm not seeing inflation coming down. The prices of things are going through the roof. Just today, I was with the first selectman, and we've got another supplemental coming, because we're under budgeted on a project by 130 grand that we just bid last year. And Wendy's asked, you know, a perfectly good question. How do you miss that number? Because prices are going up in the time if they, so, you know, you might go to bid on a construction or a road work repair project now in anticipation of doing it in the spring to lock those prices in. And the point is that planning, particularly capital planning, is becoming just much more important, right? So I don't want to take anything else on, even something like as mundane as, and I think it's a good idea and I would love to do it. I'm reluctant until we get through this next budget cycle to take, remember the town manager's office is myself, the deputy and Frank.
But you
And
no longer have HR with you, so.
I don't have HR with me.
A lot taken off your
But I
plate.
have a very active group of boards and commissions, including this one. EDC didn't meet for almost a year before I got here. And so if we've reconstituted EDC, we've got new members, new chair, new vice chair, welcome Gary. And I know this body is giving Franklin and I some work and some tasks, which we like to do.
So HR no longer reports to the town manager?
HR reports to the town manager, but in the past, in the former form of government, the town manager was essentially the personnel director. What we did with board support 2 years ago was we created the Department of Human Resources and shifted all of that out of my office. So there's some.
Actually, that does take up a tremendous
It
amount of
does.
time.
It
So
does.
to ship that out should free up a lot of time.
Well, I'll tell you what it does do is it puts the town finally in compliance with a number of issues that hadn't been done before. And not to put too fine a point on it, but before we did create HR, if you walked into the personnel coordinator's office, it was floor to ceiling in files of stuff that were fires that for some reason didn't blow up, but could have. So it was probably one of the most important changes to the internal organization that we've seen in a decade. And we're grateful that HR is there. Very quickly, we're actually giving to the Board of Selectmen our last new collective bargaining agreement. We've negotiated with all 4 or 5 of our unions, and we just finished the last one. And that means that we will not be back at the collective bargaining table for 3 years. And all our unions are up to date, including police, IBPO. And what that gives us is it gives us clarity on the budgeting side. We know what those increases are. We've gotten some really good concessions from some of the unions. We've done a bunch of things. To Lisa's point, it's quality of life. People look before they invest in Simsbury. They look not just at your open space and your golf course, but they look at your management in your town and how it's run and what the taxes are and the turnover and our boards and commissions. And I was involved in the S&P rating and the AAA bond thing that Lisa talked to. One of the things they talked about was the management teams and the stability here and our elected stakeholders. So, I think we've got the right landscape and the right people in the room. I'm not quite sure where we go next year because Lisa's right. It's not getting any easier. Our seniors can't afford $1,000, in 3 years. And if we keep going, it's going to be 2,000. We need to find some, and cuts isn't even the right word because you can't cut your way to a sustainable long-term budget. You can cut to keep your mill rate, under 3 or maybe under 2 if you're really good, but you're just going to pay the price next year. For every capital project that you delay 3 years, I guarantee you increase the cost by 20%. So it doesn't make sense to say, I'm not going to do that roof over at Squadron Line. I'm not going to fix the roof at Eno Memorial Hall because I can't afford it. But we went out to bid on the Eno roof. We expected 3.2 million. Came back at 6.
Oh.
I said, no. I'm not authorizing that. We're going to the Board of Selectmen and lay it on the table and let the policymakers tell us what they want to do. And that's just in the last, when Tom Roy underestimates bids that, there's some issues. And that's why we're going to supplemental on the other projects, 130 short. The inflation is not 2.5%. I don't care what they say. Or there's some serious price gouging going on when people respond to
So
municipal
the
bids.
latest I said, it's going up. It's going up.
Something's happening, or
Yeah, it went up to
with
2.
all respect to our vendors, they look at a Simsbury RFP and they say, oh yeah, I'm gonna respond to the Simsbury RFP and I'm just gonna give them a high number. And if they select it, then I'm like, ah.
2
That's
things
what
I will
happens.
point out. Inflation rate, we look at the CPI, which came out at 2.9, but you can also look at New England the Boston area, New York, New Jersey, and actually New England is the highest inflation in the nation. We're more closer to 3.7. Nationwide, it's 2.9, but most recent New England was 3.7. So we are seeing some of that. To Mark's point about capital, if you put things off, I just want to make the point. Unless you are in Greenwich, there are always more projects than there are resources to pay for it. So you have to prioritize. It's like any family, if you get a car, that's guy comes to you and says, oh, you gotta do this, the brakes, da, 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 and you say, okay, what do I need to do to keep my family safe? You gotta do the brakes, right? So you put off the other one. Yes, it might be a little bit expensive, more time, but you don't have the money today to do all of it. So you do have to make the hard choices. And so that's why prioritization of capital and sort of how you juggle it. I always say, people say capital should be very straightforward. You need it, plan it, you do it. But it's actually the most political part of any municipal budget. And the reason for that is you have each department vying to get their priorities with limited dollars. And you have the stakeholders like this board who's going to come in and say, we need this, this, and this to do economic development. Or you have the PAC. We need this and this and this. We need this and this, or the soccer field. We need this and this and this. And they're all lovely things. But when you stack them up and prioritize, you got to do the thing that preserves health and safety first. You got to do the things that the state is mandating you to do first. And then the other ones fall in lower down the line. And sometimes that means, and this happened in 2017 when Malloy lost his mind, it was going to increase our taxes by $4 million. Sometimes that meant some departments got no projects. And that is not atypical. That happens in every town unless you're Greenwich.
All right, let's park it there. That's good.
Just ask one question.
Sure.
It seems to me that that a lot of this is sort of out of local control, that inflation we can't really control. And the housing office space crisis is just what it is. So I think I'm trying to figure out how the town, at what point does the town reach a crisis stage where the voters vote and say, we're not going to approve this budget, and they force you to cut costs? Is that 3 years from now, 5 years from now?
I can tell you it happened in Avon last.
Yeah.
So we're close.
What you were alluding to. I mean,
So,
Yeah, it's happened and yeah.
yeah, so the problem I have is that we're talking about some solutions that aren't really short term, so they're not going to impact the budget in the way it has to be impacted. So it's sort of we have some long-term sort of plans to in a situation where we have a crisis coming up in a relatively short period of time. So that's sort of a problem that I see. Like, how do you get there?
You juggle.
Oh, I know. I've
Yeah.
balanced budgets before. It's really hard, but it's I'm just trying to figure out it's always been what's the most useful direction for us to take now, given the fact that this crisis is coming up very quickly.
Take care of the vacancy rate, help businesses fill that vacancy rate.
yeah, the repurposing.
Right.
Take what you have.
Yeah. Save-
Which actually does lead us to our next item here, which is the data collection project update, which is relevant to all of this. Does anybody, this is kind of an open discussion here. Does anybody have any updates to that?
Well, your
your
rep is
two quick things. I reached out to my broker, Jen, about 2 weeks ago. We finally were able to make our schedules work. We chatted for a little bit. She was overall, most importantly, super supportive of this initiative. She was very excited that we reached out. She wants to get more connected. She wants to talk to the street partnerships. It was a really good conversation. She was also incredibly gung-ho about they're going to fill that with other offices at the Powder Forest. She just got the account. I think she was just excited.
Yeah.
She felt like it was vacant because the other person was doing it.
Okay.
Hopefully nobody watches this.
Careful.
Yeah. So I did say that I would bring that to the commission tonight and we could chat about it for a little bit about next steps. Sarah also emailed me today looking to connect. and just get caught up. I didn't respond to her yet because it's not your court day, but. it's-
Yeah, we should probably, I feel like we should probably sit down with her because where is all this being captured?
That-
Or is it just kind of like, it's siloed right now?
I think we're talking about it. here.
Well,
Yeah.
you
I
can
don't
chime
think we
in
decided
that the
that.
town manager's office, upon when first EDC agreeing that we would take this on, we developed this initial list.
Yeah,
It was never our intention or our prerogative to maintain it.
okay,
We wanted to just start it
Mm.
to at least give Commissioner O'Keefe and you all a starting point, and Sarah, on what working with the assessor and the planning, the town manager's office made that initial list, but it was up to the EDC to continue it, considering our workload. So Commissioner O'Keefe, thank you, generously volunteered to be the lead person moving forward on this.
I
So,
thought Main
but-
Street was,
And we've started the process.
Yes, for the EDC side, but Main Street is.
we should just.
So now Main Street's asking for a handoff. They want to connect on the
no,
conversation.
but I thought they were maintaining a list.
I think-
Isn't that what we
Yeah,
decided?
it's their list, so yes. You're-
But weren't they good? Or maybe it was you that mentioned something about capturing the data. Maybe we didn't.
We never got that. far.
Okay, maybe that's what
There
it was.
wasn't enough. Like if.
Okay.
it made it sound like it was like-
I have to run to another meeting. But I think it needs to be captured. Somebody
Yes.
should be holder of that information and who it would seem to me, it would make sense if it was Main Street.
Yeah.
If it's their list and they should be doing that and then coming here and report, so that you'd have this information, but that's just my.
Well, we can follow up and connect with Sarah. and
Yeah.
Get it all
Yeah.
aggregated
I'm
somewhere.
sorry.
Yeah, what we were given are these 10 properties.
Yeah.
For the EDC to look into, to contact the owners or the representatives, which we've done. I contacted two, talked to the owners. One of them wants to come here and talk to us about it. I gave that report last time. I think we've done some other work since then. So we're working on this through this list. And then we have to compile the information in some sort of format that's useful. I actually think that we have the names of the people on this list. I think maybe getting them to come here and talk to us, maybe two at a time, to really get in more depth with them.
Yeah.
And I think that would be useful. With Gary here, now you're in the business.
Do you have a copy of the list?
I do.
Yeah.
Just fill it in for us right now.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure that people
Yeah, if you could
understand
send this
that
to me, that'd
the
be great.
Yep.
EDC is working on this. We've started the process, so we're
Yeah,
not
thank
sitting
you.
here doing.
No, that was my point. Thank you for your work.
You might know some people out there, Gary.
I know a lot of them on there.
Like John McCormick.
He works in my office. Jen works in my office.
Yeah.
Well, John McCormick
Hopefully
volunteered
this
to
was
come
your
in and
property
speak
before
for
us.
us.
Yeah.
If that would be useful.
Yeah.
It might be useful to do that.
Yeah.
I think with Gary here, that list gonna be
Yeah.
not making, I think longer.
Yeah.
got the right person, by the way.
Anyways, long story short, I think it was really good progress. We'll meet with Sarah. We'll tie off on next steps and we'll bring that to the next meeting on where we go.
But do you have feedback from your conversations that
I
you
did, I
can, you,
presented at the last
oh,
meeting.
okay, I was.
And
remote,
I
not
have
that I
that
was
here, I
listening
have
to you, so-
details, talking with them.
Okay.
And it's useful information, but
Okay.
what they see is the town barriers they've faced, and that's part of the problem. And again, he sent me his summary of what we talked about.
Yeah.
And I invited him to come here at some point and
Okay.
talk to us.
Okay,
He's knowledgeable in the business. I
Who,
think that-
John?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, very knowledgeable.
so I think that would be useful.
yeah,
And
I agree,
and it's important. I think we've been given this assignment, so we should just keep going with it
sure,
and moving forward.
yeah,
And I don't know about getting back to Main Street, but I think we've got the assignment. Let's do it. We're doing it.
yeah, all right, well, I mean, we could work on one of the upcoming agendas maybe to get them in.
Yeah, get one or two of them
Think-
to come in
yeah,
and talk
so
to us
we'll-
in detail.
Okay, great,
So just to bring Gary up to speed, Vice Chair Arthur, is Simsbury Main Street Partnership, I think you've heard of, is basically the our economic development agency. They do, EDC is made of volunteer residents, so Main Street we pay, the town pays. And they do the economic development, and they are creating a commercial office space vacancy initiative. They made an actual site, find your place in Simsbury, find your space in Simsbury.com, where it's made for users to access that website and be able to see vacant properties and vacant commercial office space and see if they can rent it out or buy it or get people interested to then maybe connect with the town on conversations on, oh, I'd like to get that building, but I'd like to repurpose it. Or I'd like to, it's zoned for a different use. What is the possibility to rezone it for a different, any of that? So Main Street approached the EDC, and after a few meetings, the EDC decided to take this on, and then the town manager's office, Mike. We worked on an initial list to bring you up to speed. So when they say Sarah, she's the director of Main Street, which you may know.
But Main Street wants us to do this part.
Yes, yeah.
But
Yeah.
we're doing.
Okay, great. Moving along, we're approved submission for the fiscal year 25 Board of Finance annual report. Was this what we were gonna table till Charmaine came back, or
If you don't,
Franklin, do we not have time to do that?
You have time.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Keep you up table till next meeting?
well, you need a motion in a second.
Yes.
Because it's on the agenda. So you have
okay.
to make somebody's gotta make a motion to table it and a second and then vote to table it if you would.
I will motion to table it.
One
second.
Okay.
Yeah, all in favor?
Second, sorry. Tom.
Oh, yeah, Gary got.
Yeah,
Okay.
all in favor?
Charmaine and Mike, you heard it? Okay, I'll take that as an affirmative. Yes, they raised their hands. And then pass unanimously. It'll be tabled for your next meeting.
Excellent. Next, we need to appoint a liaison to the Sustainability Committee.
I'll do that if nobody else wants to do it.
Great.
Can we just get a motion for that?
Motion to appoint Tom.
Beautiful. Gary, you want to?
Thank you, Tom.
I will second.
Gary, okay.
All in favor?
Mike and Charmaine raised hands. Charmaine, do you have something you want to say?
No, I was just saying aye out loud, so.
Perfect.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Number 7 was actually, so we need a motion to dismiss this item because Ray said this was all finalized,
Yeah.
the questionnaire.
So just for the, I guess for everybody in Gary.
Yeah.
Thank
you. Yeah, thank you.
What happened last meeting is Ray is the director of the Chamber of Commerce.
You're coming.
After some discussion, we had.
Next time you get together with Michael,
Yeah,
let me know.
we should get-
Yeah,
We had the Historic District Commission and Public Safety Committee Chair, Select Woman Heather Getz, come in here. And she was asked, because we're asking chairs of all boards and commissions, the same thing Lisa and Aaron just spoke about economic development in Simsbury. So we wanted to know her lens from a historic district commission and public safety perspective. And she talked, and since she is also running for a candidate for first selectman, the debate, we had a discussion on how important economic development is to Simsbury and to the vision and future of the town. We talked with Ray and we kind of came to an idea that there should be like a first selectman candidate form. Apparently, this has been done years ago in the past, but hasn't been done recently. So we thought about that'd be a good idea and Ray took it on. Initially, the EDC was gonna host it, but that'd be inappropriate considering we're an advisory commission to the current BOS. It would be weird to try to get into anything about anybody running for the first. So the Chamber of Commerce separated it from us, and initially we were gonna submit a question, but I think Vice Chair Arthur, we heard that they're done, they don't need any, right?
correct.
So I guess the motion is to postpone indefinitely since we're not bringing it up.
No, you don't have to make a motion because you're not taking any action.
Gotcha. So we're gonna skip it.
Moving on, the chair report. I don't know,
Can-
Charmaine, do you want to speak to that?
Sure.
Remotely, or do you want to, okay,
Yes, I can speak remotely as long as you can hear me.
yeah,
Um,
loud and clear.
A couple things. I did want to thank Gary for joining us. Happy to have especially someone in your field. And when I'm back after the 24th, we'll have to meet personally. So, and then I did want to add, I can tell you that Economic Development Commission has been a major priority for the town manager's office. And when Franklin and Mark spend a lot of time on economic development, and he spends a lot of time talking to me, and we have a lot of back and forth and on all of these ideas. So they really have been a huge help. And I served on Economic Development Commission before it kind of went off air for like a year or so. And then before that on the task force. So I can guarantee you the involvement and time they spend with us is great. Also, let's see. Maybe Matt, you can share, and it goes hand in hand what Lisa was just saying about a marketing study. And Matt has had sent me something. We've sent it to town hall. Maybe you could go over your idea, Matt, real quickly for the marketing.
Yeah.
You have that with you?
I don't, but I'll pull it up. Hold on. Yeah, I mean, so basically, I mean, through conversations with Lisa, and she touched on it too, I thought, it might be appropriate to do, a third party study of the town, market study, or, economic viability study, or whatever you may call it, just to, benchmark the town where we are, assess some opportunities, where should we be focusing, our efforts on. I mean, we meet, once a month, and it's not a ton of time. So, just the more dialed in we can get to, what's going to have the biggest impact. We heard obviously Aaron and Lisa talk, and there's a lot of conflicting, things get conflicting levels of support in the town between, development and open space. And it's, not everyone's going to be pleased with everything, but, just to get some, some credible baseline information for us to be able to kind of put some initiatives in place, I think would, help us moving forward. But that's something that probably needs to be budgeted. And, it's not like we can go out and do it, tomorrow or this year even, but.
It's a good idea. And it was too, because Matt, and I thanks for including me on your email, and Charmaine. I appreciate the comments. It was interesting to hear from Chair Hebner that the Board of Finance would support that.
Yeah, it sounds, as long as.
And I scribbled a note like, oh yeah, roll the tape, baby, because the EDC has gone to funders for some funding, and Charmaine can speak to this, and we haven't been successful. So, rather than beat a dead horse, what we have to do is be more strategic. And Lisa, if you listen, she was telling us how to go about it. She knew. And it's data driven. It's fine tuning the idea. You got to get it. She's kind of trying to help us. I think get it more focused. What exactly are you looking for the consultant or the study to do, and what would you do with those recommendations? Right. It's kind of like Frank and I talk about the Main Street, even the vacancy study. We're enthusiastic about it as well. We're just we probably have a little bit of trepidation about it because we're not sure what the use of that is going to be. And so I love the idea of getting consultant on board and funding it, but we've got to have buy-in from the decision makers that you're going to use that study as a roadmap and you're going to go make things happen with it, right? Otherwise, it just sits on the shelf in my office, and I got 10 of them in there going back to, and they're all very well written, but the one that comes to mind is I spent 10 or 20 grand on a study about the senior center and where we put the senior center. We don't have a senior center, but we got a great study. So, but I like the idea, Matt.
I think a good, you need to get all these, the zoning commission, the conservation. It's like people have to be on board with this, or there's no real point in doing it, or else we're just going to hit a roadblock up there. So,
I've been an advocate, and I don't win this argument, but just so you know, my framework is I will budget for a certain amount of money for economic development, even in the absence of a plan, because the budget is a year-long document and I need to get it done. So I try to budget 10,000 or 7,500, whatever it was, request denied, because we didn't have a specific plan. But what I was saying was, it's a go forward budget. It's a budget for the next year. So you got to put the money in the budget, and then the EDC knows that this is what they've got, and they're going to decide what to do with it. So it's, the argument in the building has been, the discussion in the building has been, is the cart before the horse, right? And the winners of that debate have been the Board of Selectmen leadership saying, you've got to have the plan, and then ask us to fund it. And I admit, I don't agree because it's a town manager's budget under our charter. It's like my budget until, they change it. So that's why I responded to your email. Make the pitch to me and I'll put it in the budget and we'll fight that fight together is what makes sense to me. And, but some may want the commission, to go directly to the Board of Selectmen. That's not what the charter says.
Right.
And without the budget, without the budget support, we're gonna run into the same problem we had before.
Right.
I think we all understand. Charmaine, did I say that right?
Yeah, in part, except that I was very happy and I have met with Lisa, Matt and I have both met with Lisa quite a few times. And the one thing that really I was happy to hear that she was pro that sort of survey. And we had, as an EDC, and Gary doesn't know this because he's new, but we did have 2 plans that we did vote on as a group, work on and voted on, and they were denied by the Board of Selectmen. So, what we've learned is if we don't have Board of Selectmen, it's hard to know until you work something out what your overall plan is going to be. But obviously, if we don't have Board of Selectmen love towards what we're doing, it gets voted down, and our budget that we had for the last year got put back into the general fund, which, just goes in the taxpayers fund. And we already have money in that fund anyway. But, we'd rather be doing something that really does help the town and, maybe a marketing survey, and it does have to be laid out and it does have to be detailed, but maybe I don't know if that's something that the Board of Selectmen, but we can put something together just like we're working on doing something for the data-driven information for Main Street Partners. We don't really have an exact end goal when we started it because we didn't have one, but we are just truly trying to move forward and trying to do what's best for Simsbury. So anyway, happy to hear that Lisa was pro, knowing that it would cost some money and choose the head of the Finance Committee. So
That was
Good fun.
That's all I had.
Okay, great.
me too.
Moving on, we need a motion to approve the minutes from August 20th.
Motion to approve
As presented.
as presented.
Second.
Okay,
Oh, that's me. I could do.
yeah, you can.
Okay, second.
You
Yeah.
always, as
They
chair,
all in favor, though.
as chair, you
Oh.
always like to have someone else do it. So I see Mike raising his hand, so I'd say you should recognize. Okay, so I got Kevin and I got Mike.
All in favor?
Show me, you
I
like
will-
the minutes?
I like them. I don't know if I have to abstain because I was not at that meeting because I was in the middle of the
Oh.
Mediterranean. So I should probably
You can abstain.
abstain. I mean, I read them and they all seem fine to me, but I was in the middle of the
And
Mediterranean.
Derek, since you weren't here, I
Yeah.
guess I'll assume you're abstaining too,
Yeah.
so I
Fair
got
enough.
that.
Any new business?
Do we want to mention
What?
EDC, report to the BOS before October
yeah.
31st?
No, we tabled that, didn't we?
This
Oh,
is
oh,
just
oh.
their report. That-
Yeah,
that's
hey, Charmaine, sorry, I didn't answer that email. You had asked when that date was, right? Do you want to do it in October?
Well, I kind of communicated with Franklin and I know we have to submit a written report, which I am capable of doing that at any time. Once we all get everything together. But as far as going and presenting in person, I have a major conflict with October 15th. So I personally cannot present in person. I'm part of the Advertising Club of Connecticut and it's the award show and everything else. So that's like a date I've had in my calendar for a long time, but I can certainly present it in person any date almost other than October 15th, but can certainly get one put together and written and everything else to submit. I know they also like to have it done in person. So
The next meeting after that, Charmaine, is November 10th, because the board only meets once in October. I forget why that is, but so, we'll just line it up and let me talk to Wendy, but in the meantime, if you could get.
we're working on it. I mean,
Yeah,
I know it's due before the end of I know, and you've been helping. I know the report is due before the end of October, so that has to be a hard and fast goal to get it done in written form. I'm just talking about personally presenting on the 15th would, I mean, Matt can go and present it, but I can't personally present it on.
Is it appropriate to put on the report future plans, or is that not appropriate?
If we've discussed them and we're working on them, I would think we could.
Think you can, sure. Yeah.
I mean, we could even put, this, not only the data-driven project, especially that Kevin is heading up, and Tom has done a lot of work on it. We're working on it, so that certainly could go in it, as well as we've just so far started to discuss, possibility of a marketing study. So we're working on it and talking about it. So I don't know why we couldn't write it on our list. We got a big list. We've been talking and doing a lot of things. It's just 2 of our big initiatives didn't get funded and got shot down. So we got to move forward.
For Vice Chair Arthur, just for Gary's knowledge, the EDC is made by Charter Section 609. It says there will be an EDC, but it actually says all the specifics on what the EDC is, the membership, and what it does is going to be in an ordinance, which is a local law. And so Simsbury passed Chapter 9, EDC, and it talks about it. And in Chapter 9, it says the EDC has to report to the BOS before October 31st, a statement basically of what they've done and what they're doing, and just what have they done. So that's what we're referring to when we're talking about the EDC report. This Board of Finance annual report is something different that the Board of Finance does every year. They actually asked all the boards and commissions in town to submit something. Usually it's always just been the departments, like the actual staff. But this time around, all the boards and commissions were asked to submit something. So that's Board of Finance separate, but EDC always every year has to give a report to the BOS, and that's what we're talking.
Thank you. I wouldn't have been able to clarify that. So that's great that you.
Franklin does such a great job clarifying things. So yes, you put it together. So yes, one more thing.
One man, part of a 3-man team.
Matt, before we adjourn, just tell me again, because I don't have it. When's the next EDC meeting?
The 29th of October.
So it's the end of October. Okay, all right. I got it.
All right.
Halloween costumes.
Yeah, Halloween costumes.
That'll be good.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. I made all the motions.
Yeah.
We made all.
Second. Anybody?
I will second.
Gary, all in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
For over 40 years, SCM has been the voice of our town,
bringing us together through local programming,
education, and live broadcasts.
SCM isn't just about television.
It's about empowering our community,
ensuring our voices are heard during government meetings, and celebrating milestones
like our high school graduations.
But today, SCM faces a challenge.
Our funding structure is based on television subscriptions, and it's no secret people have been cutting the cord.
With a shift to internet-only subscriptions,
SCM receives less revenue,
even though all our programming is freely available online.
We need your support.
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 Your donation can make a difference.
It will ensure that SCM remains open,
continues to educate our youth, and keeps our community informed.
Thanks to SCM, I've been honing my creative skills, helping me work towards my college degree.
SCM is crucial for keeping our community connected.
SCM isn't just here to broadcast local events. They're actually preserving Simsbury's history.
Join us in preserving Simsbury's voice.
Simsbury's voice.
Together we can ensure that SCM continues to thrive
for generations to come.
Visit our website
or scan the QR code on your screen to make your donation.
Every contribution
counts.
Thank you for supporting Simsbury Community Media,
where your town,
your schools,
and your government come together.